Hello you guys, Vertigo back with you, doing another video. Um, Couple of things, I was gonna do this flight the other day and you guys would've got this video a couple nights ago, however, I ran out of memory. So that prompted me to make a change from P3D version 2.5 to P3D version 3. We're in the American Airlines 777 by PMDG. On the ground at Miami International, the Sceneries by LatinVFR, gate is Delta 14, as you can see. And we're going to be flying to Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, again, as I said, I made this flight the other day. Everything went perfectly. I was excited, and on 5-mile final into Fort Worth, ran out of memory and crashed. I'm very optimistic that that won't be the case. In fact, I'm very optimistic that I could fly most anywhere with reasonable settings and not need to worry about memory. They really did a good job. That doesn't mean that the new sim is proof. You can run out of memory, but as long as you're you don't even need to be overly conservative. As long as you're fairly conservative with your settings, you're going to be alright, from what I've seen. This flight will be a nice test. So yeah, we're on the ground here at Miami. We'll be departing off runway 8 right, which is down there. Big aircraft. They do actually, the 777, American Airlines does fly the 777 on this route between Miami and Fort Worth, so this is legit. I know you guys haven't seen the 777. I know a lot of people like it, so I figured I would show it to you. As you can see, the weather here in Miami is a little iffy, but not too bad. Not too bad. Fort Worth, it's same conditions, fairly cloudy, but the weather itself is all right. Not too windy, you know, not terribly turbulent, so it should be fairly pleasant. Rex soft clouds installed. Again, the Sceneries by LatinVFR. Fort Worth is by FSDreamTeam. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, other add-ons. If you have questions, you know, you just ask about what add-ons I'm using. I'll be happy to answer. Active Skies providing the weather. Flying this with Project Cars. Matt Davies, you guys probably know him as Bellins, his little virtual airline, which is very nice. I'm using that VAS monitor as well, so we'll see how that goes. The tool that Pokbun made. At any rate, I don't think there's much more to be said. Call sign is American 61. Our zero fuel weight, let me have a look at PFPX. Zero fuel weight is 415.6. We're going up to flight level 400. Have about 50,000 pounds of fuel on board that we'll take with us. Yeah, it should be fun. It should be a fun flight. So let's get into the flight deck and get the show on the road. Alright guys, welcome into the flight deck. The aircraft, the cold and dark state is bugged, so we have it in the long turnaround state. You can set that by coming down here, going to PMDG setup, and then panel state is 777 long. So I already have that loaded in. So we can come up to the overhead. You can see the battery is already on. We can connect our secondary external power. They have 2 external powers connected. We were on 1. We'll connect the second. Arm our emergency exit lights. That's all good to go. We can get our logo light on. Our nav light is already on. That is fine. And, again, well, not again, I haven't mentioned this yet. I haven't flown this aircraft in a while, so bear with me. We can turn on the ADIRU. That's fine. Hydraulics are fine. Window heat's already on. Gens are on. That's fine. Lights are set. Fuel pumps we can leave off for the time being. Packs are off. We can leave that off because we should have air conditioning attached. Recirc fans on, that works. Trim air on, isolation valves and bleeds all set to auto. Good stuff. Alright, so what we can do is really quickly just make sure our ground connections are as they should be. Which they are. Very nice. So, let us, with the ADIRU turned on, let us board up. So fuel will come on first, and our fuel is 49,261 pounds. And our payload is 415.6. And that is on board. So fuel and payload is good. We can close up our doors and arm them. Entry door is now closed. We can arm that, and we'll wait for our cargo doors to close, which will take a moment. That takes just a second to do. Takes quite a while, in fact. There goes one, there goes the other. Okay, doors closed, fuel and payload is set. And with that done, let us hop right back up to the overhead. Passenger signs can go on. Pressurization panel is managed and window heat is already on. So, down on the radio panel, down on the pedestal. We are on VATSIM. We are on VATSIM, however, there's no control here currently, so we'll just squawk 2200 and 122.8 for Unicom. And with that done, we can get into the FMS here. So we should set our inertial position first, taking the GPS. We're on the ground at Miami. And we're going from Miami to Dallas-Fort Worth, DFW. Runway for departure, I said would be 8 right. Flight number is American 61. And we don't need to worry about the alternate. We don't need to save the route or put it into Route 2. We don't have a company route either, so let us put in our routing. So we're going to be on the Winco 2 departure, and we'll take that to Winco. And join the J73, which is a upper altitude airway. Take that to LBV, which is a VOR of some kind. Direct to Sierra Romeo Quebec, SRQ, another VOR, to join the Q100. And we'll take the Q100 to Redfin. From Redfin, we'll join the Q105 to Hotel Romeo Victor, HRV. From HRV, we'll join the J58 to the Alexandria VOR, AEX. And then we go direct to Peanuts, which is our entry fix onto the Star. So that's a good route. We can add our departure on top of it. It's the Winco 2. And we can add our arrival, which will be the Whiny. We gotta jump way ahead to find it. The Whiny 2. Peanuts transition, and I'm expecting it's going to be a crosswind, but the wind is slightly more favorable to land Lenore, so we'll take the ILS 36 left, since we're arriving at gate Delta 27. So we can activate that and execute it and take a quick look at our legs page and make sure everything looks as it should. So we're going to fly heading 092 until 520 feet, and then proceed direct Sonoy to Simba to Fork to Boral to Megan to Winco. That's great. And then we will join, take a look at PFPX. The LaBelle VOR, Sarasota VOR, Remus, Rozzy, Nate, Redfin, Fatso, Harvey, Pebby, Alexandria, Peanuts, Clues, Horko. And then we have various fixes. At that point in Horko, Popsy, Clinder, Whiny, Howdy, Berms, Hills, and then vectors onto the approach. And you can see the altitude constraints are in there, like so. And I don't believe there are any altitude constraints on the SID. There are not, so that's a great flight plan. We're going to request our performance information here, and it should autofill pretty well. We might need to change several things, and if we do, we can do that. That's not an issue. See, the request has been sent, and it will now, in a minute, become available. 464.9 on the gross weight. That, I believe, is correct. Let me just take a look at PFPX, confirm all this. Yep, that is correct. Or about 465,000 pounds. 49.3 pounds of fuel. 49,000 pounds of fuel. Zero fuel weight, 415.6, reserves 15. Flight level 400, cost index of 85. Cruise CG and min temp fuel, I'm assuming those are fine, so we'll accept that. And our step size is 0. Great stuff. Let me calculate takeoff performance in TopCat here. Off runway 8 right. Okay, so we're going to be flaps 5 with a 10% D rate and an assumed OAT of 65. Mentioned flaps 5. CG can auto-compute. 3.25 on the trim, CG is 29%. And our takeoff gross weight will be 464.3. And we'll insert our V speeds, 141.141.146. Great, the FMS is totally done. So what I'll do at this point is set the parking brake, open the left forward fuel pump, start the APU, set the MCP, V2 is 146, initial heading is 092, and initial altitude is 5,000 feet. Auto brake can go to RTO, VOR bugs can come up, flight directors can come up. Awesome. And then the last thing we can do, well, we can arm VNAV and LNAV. This is a RNAV departure, so make our life a little easier and arm those on the ground. And then we should set the altimeter, which is, here at Miami, the altimeter currently is reading 29908, so we'll set 29908. Oh, I'm going to have to adjust this. Okay. I'll do that when we're in the air. 29908 is set. Still waiting on the APU to come up. We're close. APU is now running. Wonderful. Can disconnect our external power and come down to our ground connections. Air conditioning unit can go, jetway plugs can go, and the wheel chocks can go. Wonderful. Brakes are set. And we're about ready to go, so I'm going to get our beacon light on. I'm going to open the remainder of our fuel pumps. We don't have any fuel in the center tanks. Do a quick flow. Gens are fine for now. We'll get our hydraulics on at this point, so you want to go right, left, C1, C2, C1, C2. And those will come up nicely. Window heat is on, passenger signs are on, beacon is on, packs are off, bleeds and isolation valves are all set to auto. So, with that done, we're ready for push and start. So I'm going to go ahead and set our transponder to mode Charlie there, and call over the ground crew. And we'll want our nose to the right, tail to the left. Great. So yeah, before engine start, it's important to have your beacon light on, to have your packs off, and to have your fuel pumps open. And in the 777, you pressurize your hydraulics before pushing or before starting your engines. In the NGX, I tend to do that afterwards.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Oh, we should run our checklists. I just realized they have built-in checklists, right, in the 777, so we should use that.
Locking gear.
What in the world is going on here with my, 1 second. I think something might be a little quirky with my controls. 2 seconds. Alright guys, welcome back. They're shouting at us to release the parking brakes. We'll do it in a minute, don't mind them. When I reinstalled P3D, it must have triggered, or set some of these, controls to, hotkeys that I use for Easy Dock, so that's why it was triggering the reversers. If I just move the, throttles forward, that's no issue, we're fine, so don't worry about it. Let's quickly do the checklist. Oxygen is fine. Flight instruments, heading, and the altimeter both look fine based on the direction we're facing. Parking brake is set. Fuel control switches are cut off. Pre-flight checklist complete. Before start checklist. Flight deck door is fine. Passenger signs are on. MCP V2 146. Track 092. Altitude 5000. Takeoff speeds V1 141. VR 141. V2 146. CDU pre-flight is complete. Trim, we're standing by in the trim, and well, we can set the trim now. Let's go ahead and do that. Trim is 3.25. So we'll set the trim while they keep yelling at us. I apologize for that. Flight controls, trim, we want 3.25. 3.25 on the trim. Trim, 3.25 units is set, and taxi and takeoff briefing is fine. Call that complete, and we're ready to go. Right then.
All engines clear. Start that wheel.
So we will get our engine displays up here in the lower ECAM, and we'll start the right engine. Wait for an oil pressure of about 5, and then we'll feed fuel in. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Honestly, you might be looking for an oil pressure of 3. I can't recall, but it's no problem. And we should have a good start here on number 2. We'll keep our eye on it. Yep, coming up nicely. Everything looks stable. Good start on engine number 2. Starting number 1. And number 1's coming up. As you can see, we're going to be taxiing out that way. Probably along November. November or Mike work either. We'll join Mike and take that down for full length, and yeah, we'll need all the runway we can get. It's a big aircraft, so you need a lot of space to get this off the ground. There is a good start on engine number 1. So APU can go off. Packs can go on, or auto I should say. Our left engine bleed will come on momentarily. We can set our flaps for takeoff. We have flaps 5. 1, 5. And the flaps is set. They'll tell us to set our parking brake here in just a moment, and we will do as they wish.
Set parking brake.
Good stuff. So our transponder is set, our flaps are set, trim is set, packs are set to auto, they'll come on momentarily, bleeds are all on, we pretty much moonlit up here, just standing by in the packs. We'll get our taxi light on before we taxi. APU is off, which is good to go. We're on the engine gens. APU bleeds, well, all our bleeds are managed. Packs are set back to auto, hydraulics are on. Probe heat is managed, trim set, flaps set. The only thing that we'll do at this point is go ahead. Still standing by in those packs, but they'll come up in a moment. There they go, packs are on. We'll just check our flight controls. So Here we go. Flight controls. Let's give them a check. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral and rudder. Full left.
Left is clear. Right
Full
is
right.
clear.
Neutral. Flight controls look great. Come down to our before taxi checklist. Anti-ice is off. It's not required. Recall is checked. TCAS is fine. Get this. We enter the runway. Flight controls are checked and the ground equipment is just about clear. We'll say it is. Before taxi checklist complete. And we can run the before takeoff checklist. Flaps 5 before takeoff checklist complete. Great. So these guys are more or less out of the way. Taxi light on, and we'll taxi down to runway 8 right down here. We'll join taxiway Mike, which is just here. And I will see you guys at the runway. Alright guys, welcome back. So we're just getting ready to depart. 8 right is just here. You might notice some stutters. I think that's because I need to set an affinity mask, which I will do afterwards. I had optimized parts in my old CFG. I don't have that in the new one. And then I have used an affinity mask in the past, so I'll probably set one after this flight. And I imagine some combination of an affinity mask and or optimized parts and or maybe a fiber time fraction adjustment would fix the stuttering issues, but it's not really a big deal. The frames are smooth. So, weather radar on, transponder TAR right, and we can get our strobe on, get our landing lights and turnoffs on, and we're ready to go. We're all lit up. TCAS is clear. There's one of those stutters. TCAS is clear. Weather radar's on. Lights are on, and we're ready to rock and roll. Start the clock. And we'll get out of here. Engine's coming up, looks stable. Thrust ref. Airspeed alive. $80 knots, thrust hold.
V1.
Positive rate of climb, gear up. LNAV. Thrust ref VNAV speed. Can't speak apparently. Looking nice, looking nice. Go ahead and bug our altitude on up. All the way up to flight level 400. Speed checked while we're standing by on our flaps here. We can still keep them at flaps 5. Alright, flight level 400 set. Speed checked, flaps 1. Speed checked, flaps up. Autopilot is in, and we're in good shape. The gear is up, auto brake is off, flaps are retracted. And we can get off our turn-offs here and our taxi light. Strobe, beacon, nav logo will keep on for the whole flight, and we'll get our landing lights. We can get the nose gear landing light off. We'll get the wing landing lights at 10,000 feet, and we're out of Miami. Looking very nice. There's downtown Miami over there. Awesome. That's very cool. So you can see we're making our left-hand turn, and then we'll continue along the departure out to our left here at 10,000 feet. Get the landing lights, and then we'll be off and really kind of squared away. We'll just need to reset our altimeter at 18,000 transition altitude. Great. That was fun, getting out of Miami. You could get a real nice view of the city as you departed. Alright, 10,000 feet. Landing lights off. And we're away. So we'll grab our altimeter as we always do at 18K, and that will be that. You can see we're picking up a little bit of weather there on our radar. Nothing too bad. Coming up through this cloud deck now, which actually looks really nice. These clouds kind of blend seamlessly. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the flight. I'll bring you back as we're getting ready to prepare for our descent. And yeah. Have a good time, enjoy the view, I'll see you all shortly. Alright guys, welcome back into the flight deck. We are just under 100 miles from our top of descent, so let's get it all planned out. One thing I should mention is when we departed Miami, I forgot to do the after takeoff checklist, which is just gear up landing lights. Or gear up flaps retracted, which we did. And the gear was indeed up and the flaps were indeed retracted. So, the point is that we did that. I just wanted to let you know that I had done that since you didn't get to see it. But at any rate, that was done, and we'll do the descent checklist once we've prepped. So, first things first, as I drop my pen on the ground, I don't think I'll need that. First things first, let us set a frequency and course. And if we come down here into the FMS, and we go to nav radio, and you'll see the ILS that is currently parked is 111.9 with an inbound course of 356. Now I'm going to check the weather real quick. Wind's still slightly favorable for 36 or the 3 landing north, so we'll put this in. And you can now see 111.9 356 is activated, and that matches what we have on the chart for 36 left. So our frequency and course for the ILS is totally good to go. Pressurization panel is automated, so we don't need to set that. We can set our MCP altitude down based on the star, and this star takes us as low as 6,000 feet, so I'll set 6,000 feet here on the MCP altitude. That is now set. Auto brake, we have plenty of runway. It is 13,500 feet long, so an auto brake of 1 will be just fine. That will be the plan. Minimums, our minimums are 788 on the barometric altimeter, so we will set 788 here, and you can see down here as that wheels up. And those, we need to have the runway in sight, and at that point we can, commit to continuing the approach. So 788 is set, our minimums are good to go. Approach information, we can step through this real quick in the legs page. So peanuts, that's the transition to clues to Horco, and in fact what I'm going to do is go to plan, zoom this out a bit, and we'll step through each individual fix. There we go. So peanuts to clues just up ahead to Horco between flight level 280 and flight level 240, 290 knots. Popsy between 23 and 200 at 290 knots to Clindor at or above 12,000. To Winey at or above 12,000, 260 knots. To Howdy at 250 knots between 12,000 and 11,000. Berms at 248,000 and Hills at 236,000. So if we step through each of these, you can see these various fixes, and then just out there is the ILS. That's the approach. So after Hills, we'll keep flying on this heading and then vector ourselves in here onto the approach course for runway 36 left. So we'll call ourselves briefed. If we do need to go miss the missed approach, procedures to climb to 1,100 and then make a climbing left turn to 3,000 on a 305 heading. And we'll track on the Cowboy VOR 298 radial to Kegel. So it should be pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to landing at Dallas-Fort Worth. It's, standard layout, nothing too tricky. The last thing we ought to do here is get our landing speed calculated. So let me set this back to map, crank that range out a bit, turn it down over here. Right then, landing speed. So if we come to the progress page, you can see we currently have 20,000 pounds of fuel on board, estimated to have 15.4 at Dallas. We'll just take 5 off our current gross weight, so we'll make this 430.8. Which, if we land with flaps 30, which is the plan, that'll give us a landing speed of 136 knots. And then the wind right now at Dallas, it's a bit of a crosswind, and it's at 4 knots, so we'll just add the token 5 knots onto our approach speed, so it'll be 141. Anyway, descent checklist. Recall is checked. No issue with recall. Yep, recall is checked. We've briefed the descent, we've gone over our notes. Auto brake, we have auto brake 1. Landing data, VREF 136, minimums Baro 788. Approach briefing completed. Descent checklist is completed. So, There we go. We are in good shape to descend. Just under 80 miles out at this point. If I come to the progress page here, should be able to get a look. Yeah, 63, or the VNAV page, 62 nautical miles now till top of descent. So we'll start down fairly soon. We'll get our passenger signs back on, our seatbelts back on before we drop down, and I'll see you guys as we're getting near Fort Worth. It shouldn't be too much longer, so enjoy the remainder of the flight. Alright guys, welcome in. We're going to take it home to landing. So we're just now over Clindor, inbound to Winey. And you can see we're crossing Clindor at or above 12,000. We have our speed reduction to 270 knots, which we're actually a little below, which is more than fine. And we'll continue on the Star. Obviously I reset the altimeter at flight level 180 or 18,000 feet to 3004. And then as we pass through 10,000 feet, get the landing lights on. I've been monitoring the virtual address space and it looks fine for now. I'm not seeing any issues. Nothing to worry about. Have just under a gig left, so we left, or when I first dropped into the ground I had about a gig and a half, and have just under a gig left, so yeah, we're in good shape. I can't imagine that an airport and some autogen is going to eat up that much. But we'll see. Watch me eat my words and be incredibly bummed because there's another out of memory error. I really don't think it's going to happen though. So the wind is still 070 at 4 knots, so 36 left is the ticket. I'm not sure if there's any ATC online. Let me take a look. Normally I could look at my EFB, but some of the file locations are a little mixed up since the reinstall, so I need to keep an eye on them. Or not keep an eye on them, I need to reset them. There's one departure from Dallas Love Field, but nothing at Fort Worth. So we're fine. No traffic to concern ourselves with. See speed reduction down to 250 knots here as we come through 10,000 feet. Really, really nice view there at the wing. Still, you can still see the stutters from time to time. I know I mentioned them at Miami. I apologize. I'll make some tweaks to my config to hopefully smooth them over, but hope it's not too unbearable. Keep our heading bugs synced up. Coming up here on 10,000 feet. Right, landing lights on. And you can see we're tracking to berms and then to hills, and then we'll make the right-hand turn there onto final. If you guys hear the sound fade out like that, I'm sorry. I'm just pulling open my my VAS monitor window to make sure that you know, I'm fine in that regard. I do have autosave on though, so if something happened, the flight would be retrievable. But I'm just checking that. So if you hear the sound drop out, it's because P3D lost focus, and that always happens. When you lose focus of the sound, you lose a bit. Anyway. Just a heads up if you hear the sound drop out. I'm checking VAS. About to go through this cloud layer here. You can see it's a bit cloudy. Nothing too crazy. You can still actually see through that to the ground a bit. Little bit of cloud cover. Once we're over berms, we're going to cross hills at 6,000 feet, and then I will descend us down, I believe, to 3,000. Yeah, we'll drop down to 3,000 after hills. Just in a nice slow descent, because you can see the distance between hills and our first fix there on the ILS. There's actually a pretty big window. It'll be about 20 miles, so. And even longer than that when you consider we're not going direct. We're actually going to fly the a bit of a crosswind leg here. Or base leg, I should say. That's not a crosswind leg, that's a base leg. So it'll be probably closer to about 30 miles. At any rate, we'll get a nice slow descent going, probably about 700 feet per minute if we hop into VS. And we'll fly a heading of 270 after hills. FMC message, they want us to use some drag. I can go ahead and pull out a little bit of speed brake. We don't need a lot. To help keep that speed somewhat in check. Alright, 1,000 to go for 6. Bump our altitude down to 3K. Speed still wavering a bit. We have a 10 knot tailwind pushing us, which might be part of the reason that the speed's not wanting to come down too much. Right then, heading select. Take a heading of 270, and we will go into VS, and we'll make that 700 feet per minute for now. Speed's down nicely. Go ahead and put those spoilers back away. And we'll keep our speed at 230 knots here for a moment, and then we'll drop it down to 210 fairly soon. See, we're about 10 miles here from intersecting with the localizer, and you want to make that turn. In a bigger aircraft like that, you probably want to make that turn about 3 to 4 miles from the loc, so the plane has plenty of time to react. Yeah, still a little borderline there with the VS. We have it set for 700 feet per minute, and it's kind of all over the place. It'll drop down to 900, come back up. I don't quite understand why it can't hold a steady VS. So you can see it's really swaying, which it shouldn't be. I mean, naturally we're getting a bit of turbulence, but it shouldn't be wavering to that extent. We'll set our speed down to 210. In there you can actually see it. Yeah, I don't know why the VS is all over the place. You know, I wonder if it might have to do with some of these stutters I'm getting, but they aren't that severe. I wouldn't think it would be having that kind of an impact. Oh well. Figure it out another time, I suppose. Pull out some speed brake to help get the speed down, and we can actually take flaps 1 at this point. Start to make that turn here. On to final, we'll take a 340 heading. Go to approach mode. And we can really ease up on that VS here. We can drop this down to about 400 feet per minute. Put that speed brake back away. And we'll fly this heading here to intercept. See the glide slope and the localizer being detected. Oh, a nice little bridge there. Good stuff. And a bunch of cell towers, it looks like, out there. Yeah, still getting bumped around here with this turbulence. Quite a bit, in fact. Comes the loc, it tends to overshoot these localizers, so I'm just going to gently turn us into it here to help it capture. There we go, localizer is captured. It'll overshoot a bit, but it won't be quite as bad. Cabin's ready for landing, great. And we're about 15 miles from the runway, I should say. See the Dallas area, looking very nice. If you look down there, you might be able to see some cars there on that freeway. I'm not seeing any. Virtual address space is looking good. 3.3 gigs used. 81%, so we still got plenty of buffer room. Looks like that aircraft departed Dallas there. That's probably, that aircraft you see out there is probably a Southwest flight. Radio altimeter is alive. We will get the rest of our lights on. totally lit up. You do that when you get clearance to land, but we'll assume that we did. Speed down to 180. Gear down. Spoilers are armed. Flaps 5. Still getting bumped around a good bit. Right, so, one last weather check. 3004-070 at 4. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed at all. We'll drop down to final approach speed, which is 136 plus 5, 141. So pressure is set. All of our lights are on. Flaps currently set flaps 5. We'll bring out some more here shortly. Speed brake arm geared down. Again, standing by in the landing flaps. Go around altitude is 3,000 feet. That is set. And our landing speed, our VREF speed is set. So just standing by on the flaps. Alright, flaps 15. Alright guys, welcome back. So, when I tried to land the plane and disengage the autopilot, it wasn't disengaging. I was having some real issues, so I actually had to go around. Got a little dicey, had to go around, and we're going to try this again. Hopefully things go a bit more smoothly this try. We'll see what happens. You can never be totally certain, but fingers crossed that things go over a bit better this time around, as opposed to last time that you didn't see. It was just such a mess that I decided to cut the video. It really wouldn't have really worked putting it together. It was lousy flying. It was just an ugly situation from top to bottom. So, at any rate, apologies for that. I know it was on approach there, and now I'm, doing the same thing over again. The video got cut, and you guys didn't really see it. So, or what happened. So, I apologize for that. Let's try it again. Hopefully things go better. Hopefully things go better. We'll see. Keep it at 180 knots. Start to make a turn here to intercept in just a moment. Yeah, this thing, I hadn't had any issues flying it before. It's been a while, but what just happened was quite interesting. So, it wouldn't allow me to disengage the autopilot. It said auto land unavailable, and I couldn't take out the autopilot whatsoever. And then when I did the hard disengage here, it actually just took out the auto throttle, and we started to lose altitude quickly. I didn't realize that the auto throttle was out, and so that obviously threw me off. Alright then, here we go. Take 2. Make sure there's nobody on the ground at Fort Worth. There doesn't appear to be. You can see the insufficient fuel warning. We are a bit low on fuel, so we ought to get the plane down this time. It would be not so great if we didn't. Start to drop that speed down to final approach speed now, which will be 141. Localizer is captured. Flaps 15. There comes the glide slope, gear down, spoilers armed, flaps 25. Oh, it's because the gear's not fully down. So it's yelling at us for the gear being down because the flaps hadn't reached flaps 15 yet. The gear is now down, so and flaps are 15. No worries. That's just telling you, hey, your gear's down, but your flaps are not matching. Or your flaps are 15 and your gear isn't down, rather. Once the gear's down, that issue resolves itself. And we will take flaps 30. And we'll get the rest of our lights on. Alright then, pressure 3004 is set. Lights are all on. Flaps are set for landing. Speed brake arm, gear down. Go around altitude set and VREF speed set were fully configured here a bit earlier. And let's see if the plane wants to behave. Fingers crossed it will. So yeah, that warning horn, just to fully clarify, as you see we have a bit of a crosswind. What that is telling you is you have flaps 15 out but your gear isn't down. That shouldn't be the case. So once that gear was fully extended, the warning went away. You can have some, less than flaps 15 out, and still have the, you have less than flaps 15 and still have the gear down, but you can't have flaps 15 or greater and not have the gear down, and we kind of did that simultaneously, so that is what was happening. 1,000 feet is checked. Plane's struggling to hold its speed there. Seems to be behaving a little strangely. Alright, 1,000 feet. Field's in sight. Let's go ahead and take control of the aircraft and try and land it properly this time. Alright, my aircraft can get rid of our flight directors at this point. Yeah, it's a little bumpy here. It doesn't feel quite right, to be honest with you. It feels a little off. Throttle's working properly this time, though. We'll get it down.
Plus 100.
See, these stutters are making our life a bit difficult.
Minimums.
Landing.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Ease it down. There we are. Reversers are green. Decel 80 knots. Reverser stowed. 60 knots. Manually braking. And we'll keep it rolling down here and make off to the right at Echo 2. Okay, that went significantly better than last time. And our VAS is totally fine. No virtual address space issues. The frames aren't great, so I should probably address that at some point. But VAS is phenomenal. Not an issue whatsoever. Alright, flaps coming in. Spoilers are stowed. Go ahead and get our lights off at this point. Weather radar is off. Transponder is set to auto. Auto brake can go off. So, our lights are off, auto brake's off, speed brake and flaps are stowed and put away. Transponder we got, and we got the flight directors, we got the weather radar, we can stop the clock. It was 2 hours and 37 minutes of flying. About what I expected. Fuel got a little low. And we can start up the APU. Make a right here at Whiskey Kilo. We'll cross 36 right, which is off to naturally our right hand side here. And then we'll park up at Delta 27, so I'll see you guys at the terminal. Alright guys, we're just about at our gate, so I'm going to get rid of our taxi light. Set the transponder to standby. And here's Delta 27, here's 28, and 27 is just here. So we'll drag down one more and start to turn into park. Right here. You have to make really wide turns in this aircraft because it has such a long tail, so you really want to let your nose kind of swing around and then straighten it back over like that. Really overshoot your turn and then correct, because you need to drag that tail around. If you don't, the aircraft will be parked kind of askew or crookedly. I don't think crookedly is a word, I think it would just be crooked. And we'll use safe gate here to get ourselves in 40 feet and let it creep on down. A little bit more thrust in here just to get us rolling forward again. Kind of came to a standstill. There we are. Alright, we're parked up. Set the brake. Bring the jetway on over. The APU is running, so the engines can go. And we can get some ground connections going here. Chocks. Jetway plugs. Air conditioning unit. All are attached. Open up some doors here. Disarm all our doors. And up to the overhead. Hydraulics can go off. Actually, we'll turn them off in the order that we turn them on, I'm assuming. Or in the opposite order. I doubt it matters that much. APU is running. Connect to external power and kill the APU. Passenger signs can go off. Since we have external air connected, the packs can go off. Beacon light off. Navna logo, we'll keep those on. External power's connected, APU is gone. Close up our fuel pumps. Packs are gone, and we are cleaned up, so I'll deboard us with GSX. And we can actually disconnect the parking brake since we have chocks in. And there we are, fellas. That was a really fun flight. Several little bumps in the road, if you will. The stutters were not very fun. Try and figure out a solution for that, so you don't have to watch that in future videos. That would be thing one that bothered me, the stutters. Thing two was that goofy approach that you guys didn't see. That just, you know, it was such a mess. I decided to cut it. Again, sorry about that. I know the video was a little rough around the edges with that, and then combined with the stutters. But no point in focusing on what wasn't great. It was otherwise a great flight. I'll get the stutters resolved. In the win column is the fact that the VAS was wonderful. I ran out of memory on a 5-mile final the last time I tried this in 2.5, and here in version 3 I actually have more than 500 megabytes of VAS left. So all good on the VAS front. Get the stutters resolved. Have a better approach next time. At any rate, guys, that is the flight complete. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I'll be back again with another video soon. Take care, everyone. So long.